Buenos dias. Soy John Davies. Bienvenidos. Cabo San Lucas. Nuevo hogar, or at least temporary. A JKD Asset Management. Yes, thank you very much. I'm John Davies. Of course, you knew that. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining me. 0800 from beautiful Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. And for the opening day of an abbreviated week 22 of the campaign, 31st of May, as we turn the page into the new month and the final third of the second quarter. Quite obviously, markets were closed yesterday in observance of Memorial Day, and I trust everyone observed the day as it was meant to be, not as opposed to sales shopping day or whatever it might be. However, we'll move on from that. And again, I want to thank everyone for joining me. If you're new here, I hope you make this part of your regular journey online. If you're one of our regulars, start off from the top. Perry or Mama, my beautiful Anusha Harsis, my clientele, investors, family, friends, Mignique, and of course, our hunting party with whom I'm speaking with on Telegram via audio, hence these silly earbuds. I do appreciate your support here. Remember, there are no rules here other than we have professionalism and gentlemanly and ladylike behavior at all times. Professionalism does matter. We have to stop the real viruses in our society, which is constant sugarcoating. We've sugarcoated everything, literally and figuratively, for 60 years. One of the reasons we're in our problems of society today, and they're not going away. And for that matter, constant pandering. We need actual real leaders in our society. Maybe some of you will think of running for office, as opposed to these geriatric cases who only know how to serve their corporate masters. And we also have to get away from the endless political correctness. Say what you mean what you say, in a professional and courteous behavior, and all things will be fine. So let's see who we've got here. Christopher D., young gentleman in a jet black suit. Great to see you here. Thank you very much for joining us. Hope all is well. Carl, thank you very much for joining us. Hope all is well. Thank you very much. On Telegram, Keith, great to have you here as always. Thank you, my friend. There's Kyle. Great to see you, Kyle. Thank you very much for joining me here. I hope to see you more often lately. Daryl, thank you very much for joining us today. And as I was discussing just before I launched YouTube, this we'll get into this, the GFI acquisition of Yamana. It is about professionalism, and an era just doesn't seem to understand it, although real professionals and money people do understand. Professionalism does matter. Pratik, from beautiful Australia. Great to see you here, my friend. Thank you. Hope all is well. There's John. Thank you very much for joining us. Cody, great to have you here, and thank you very much for all your leadership with us, with the Telegram board and our entire team, as always. Thank you very much. Nick, great to have you here. Thank you very much for joining, my friend. Hope all is well, and with you and your beautiful family. Anthony, great to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us. Drew, thank you very much for joining us. Great to see you, my friend. And of course, good thing we don't have to worry about those mean tweets anymore, Drew. No one's really minds with WTI nearing $120. At least we don't have mean tweets, right, Drew? Couldn't resist. My apologies. Greg, great to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us. And Dominic from beautiful Germany. Hope all is well, my friend. Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, clearly the story of the day is the acquisition of Yamana by GFI. An enormous thing. And there's a lot of things I have to say about this. First of all, I've been very harsh on people at times, and I think it's deserved. If generations, not a generation, generations, the last 25 years have not invested sufficiently in commodities. It really shows. And if you do not invest in commodities, and I want to urge you this, I want to ask you to do this after this ends today. Go, whatever you do, buy the Rosetta Stone or whatever you can in Mandarin and Cantonese, because you're going to need it, your children are going to need it, and grandchildren need it, because you will be talking to your boss forever. And learn about those pages about saying thank you very much. Okay? We have not invested sufficiently in commodities for over a quarter century, and it is now paying. The acquisition of Yamana, to me, spells a darker void. And people will note this. They'll note the asset value of Yamana Absolutely the case. Undervalued. I can look at the numbers, I can crunch them with the best of them. Heck, I've consulted for some of the largest accounting firms in the world. I can do that for you. But it goes beyond that. Yamana had a tremendously professional team, and there's not many professional teams in all of industry that I get to sit down with and talk to in their head office. And that was one of the things I would do when I was in Toronto. Some of you might know that little building complex across from Yamana's head office that I was part of the original financing team. And yes, when you spend your holiday weekends at that certain little um, building downstairs, you'll see my name all over the walls, all over the places. I understand that. I understand that area. So I also understand Yamana. It's a great company. But why wasn't the investment? Why was it valued so cheaply? It was given away. It was thrown away. Well, the Canadian investment public, just as the American investment public, doesn't invest sufficiently in mining. Alan, thank you very much for joining us. Has invested sufficiently in mining, natural resources, oil and natural gas for a quarter century, but particularly mining. Mining, things that make what's really important. Remember, this is about mining. That's what it really is. All these ways that we talk, we experience life, and everything in it, it's all due to mining. Without mining, but doesn't exist. And it's interesting because other than China and Russia, no one has invested sufficiently in mining for at least a quarter century. But it also rings true, and it's a punch to the gut when I see Yamana go for such a cheap price. When I also realize the Canadian investment public, once the cornerstone of mining and investing, sufficiently in mining since the late 1990s. No, in Canada, in the country of Canada, and this isn't a negative about the people, but they've been inclined and pushed by very poor banking policies by their Bank of Canada to invest in what is nothing more than a money laundering shell game in the real estate market. I said that in the late 90s. I repeated it throughout it. It has been a shell game and it will constantly build. That doesn't mean it will crash or anything like that. I'll let you all decide that yourself. It just means that they're pushed away from investing in the things that truly matter. So unless it's something that you can, well, participate for recreational use, which I have no interest in, or a shell game in real estate, the Canadian investor community has walked away from mining sufficiently. And what happened with Yamana is because it was deeply undervalued. But the great value of Yamana, let me tell you, isn't merely written down on its balance sheet. It's its people. So when you're considering this takeover, this acquisition, if you are a Yamana shareholder like myself, and I have a lot of things to give consideration. I was just talking to that Cody on how this will crystallize some very challenging tax situations. Justin, thank you very much for joining us. Understand this, and I do not know the GFI management team, and they might be very good, and I just simply do not, because I haven't spent the years sitting down with them in their offices at their AGMs, getting to know them, that they got one hell of a deal. And when you do that analysis, you all have to do that analysis yourself. And I suggest you do it if you have been a Yamana shareholder. Remember, you have to make that independently, and you have to give some thought to whether or not who got the best part of the deal. I can tell you right now, without even looking much further, and we can all go to the website and review the statements and this and of that and whatever, and go to a press conference. Who got the best part of the deal? GFI. GFI got the best part of this deal, hands down. They got one of the best management teams. It's one of my sense of humor is so dry. Pardon me, it's boring. But it's one of my frequent comments that Yamana is the greatest group of professionals and professional accountants you'll ever meet. And they build rock solid balance sheets with great companies for the future. GFI got a great investment with tremendous assets and great people. We have to make that decision, and I suggest you all make that decision yourself, independently or with your financial advisor. I know where I am siding towards, and it's just also going to be a shape of things to come. The mining sector is deeply undervalued. Some of them are carrying far too much money on their plate. First one, off the top of the list, from the top of the barrel, from the top of the mountain, Barrick Gold, carrying far too much money. far too much money. These are all takeovers. Yes, the junior sector, and rightfully so. When people talk about M&A season, we'll talk about the junior sector. And there are. I've got a couple that I'm very so closely associated with. They'll get taken off the board one day, sooner or later, and then it's too late. It was too late for all of us 25 years ago when you started investing into dog shit companies on NASDAQ and started worried about them, as opposed to buying things that make manufacture, things that are part of manufacturing. Commodities matter, not Snap, Twitter, Facebook, or whatever it is, or some other this year's version of pets.com. Commodities matter. So in the coming mergers and acquisition season, yes, rightfully so, many will focus in on the juniors, and there are some extremely undervalued juniors. Let me tell you, as I said, I'm associated with a number of them. They're extremely undervalued, and they will go off the market, off the board at one time or at some time or another for a very cheap price, because we, the investment community, do not act upon it. However, you have to give thought to the future on this, and give thought to how you're going to invest in commodities going forward. Okay, Jim, thank you very much for joining us. Again, just to recap this, you should be aware of the GFI deal for Yamana. I'm not sure whether or not I will be part of the NewCo. If I do, I will crystallize one heck of a tax gain, but that's just cost of it. And I'm very familiar with the Yamana management team from both meetings in their office and obviously their AGMs. It's extremely professional, and I can say unequivocally, without any doubt, with a person with an extremely material amount of funds invested in Yamana, enough that I could retire from that if I so choose, but I'm never going to retire. Jim knows that. Is the fact that they got one heck of a deal. Great management. You invest in professionals. Stop investing in kiddie cores. Okay? Enough said. Let's get to the markets right now. And let me run through this. Obviously, with the market, we have to go back on to Friday, and it was an interesting session. Market bled up. Let's go through this real quickly. Dow on Friday up 575.77 to 32,212. NASDAQ up 390.4 to 12,131. And the S&P bleeding up 100 points to 4158, 4158.24. If we're going to be looking at pure technical lines, 4158, the standard, I'm sorry, we're looking at pure technical lines. When we're looking at first line of resistance, 4185. I look at 4185, 4205, 4212, 4266, and really staring down the gauntlet of a very important, the 4300 level. But of course, as I've been saying, bear market rallies are to be sold into. I stole into contention this market is 35.20 to 37.20 in its eyes, and certainly a pullback, a range of a wide range of 3,200 to 4,200, with is more towards the Fed liking. I certainly think think more towards 30 on the lighter side of that. And I also suggest you take a look at the Schiller PE index and consider markets do revert to mean, and they will. I say 15.57, but you have to wait to the minimal 13s. Let's hope we don't get back to when I started in the market. Jim, you remember this, when it was Schiller PE sub 10. Okay, there we go. Pardon me. Okay. On the pre-market front, certainly the market is giving back some of that ground right now, and justifiably so. We've taken this huge beating. If you're taking a look at the spike in oil, and due to obviously new sanctions. But let's go to the pre-markets very quickly on this. We're looking at the Dow as an implied opening off, we'll call it 235 points, implied opening S&P off 25 points, and implied opening off NASDAQ 27 points. And again, with with VIX making a bit of a bounce up to mid 27s at this time, mid to latter part of 27s. Pardon me. Someone's listening on the phone here. Pardon me. Okay, here we go. And with greenback right now, the greenback right now is making a good solid northbound move after wavering recently, up 0.3, up 0.24 to 101.90. And within our commodities, again, due to the EU sanctions shot out of a cannon, to surprise of none. As I said, in July before the most recent presidential election that should the Democrat candidate claim the Oval Office, that's no joke on 81 million, but should he claim the Oval Office, that we would see a resulting energy crisis, Carter 2.0, and that oil will escalate materially above at a much quicker pace than I had anticipated. Remember, I was suggesting the century mark by mid the decade, but it will be within the first 6 months of this year and materially above that. And they have accomplished that, as well as getting the war that they really wanted. That'll certainly help the defense stock positions. With WTI up now $3.62 to 118.60, certainly a good reason to put the brakes on the S&P as well. Hello, deep, dark recession, with natural gas pulling back 29 cents to 843.7. With China reopening Shanghai, very important. And looking for further stimulus. Copper taking that northbound train up 0.024 to 433.1. And within our precious metals, been an intriguing session. Remember, you're trading August is now August. I'm sorry if you're looking at some of the financial media, the common financial media. I'm not going to give you any names. You know that they quote. Pardon me, you don't know this. They're quoting the incorrect month. We rolled last week to August. Can someone update their system here? Okay, they just haven't. August gold right now, 1851.80, off $5.50. My gosh, did they not just didn't get the memo on that one? With silver pairing back right now to let's look at our Julys right now, but silver pairing back to 55.5 cents. Well, no, 0.556 to 21.54. So good. We'll be watching this very closely on the market. Obviously, the big story is AG has shot out of a cannon, and AG. Did I say AG? My apologies. AUY. I've got a few things up on my screen. Shot out of the cannon. Up pre-market, good solid volume up nearly over 16%, up 85 cents to $6.02. We'll be talking about that a great deal. Yesterday, if you acquired Yamana on the Canadian exchange, which was open, that goes under the symbol YRI. You notice it was weak for most of the morning, and a very easy acquisition, and certainly responded later in the day as clearly some news leaked out of this. But a great situation on Yamana. But also take a good look at this entire sector. The entire gold sector, precious metal mining sector is deeply undervalued, and I suggest everyone give good thought to that. Okay, on that note, I want to conclude, and I know I took a little bit too much of your time, but I do appreciate it. So for everyone on YouTube, I want to thank you very much for joining me. I will be back at 0800 tomorrow, and as always, I appreciate your support. It means a great deal to me, and I hope to see you then. And until that time, just remember 2022, be the hunter, not the hunted. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.